Hello, good morning viewers. This is Saraswati. I welcome you all in online classes of RD group of schools. So students, today I'm going to teach the topic the red trap. So as in the last video we had started this chapter the red trap, and once again we are taking the remaining part of the chapter red trap. So about the title, its author, its concept and theme message, everything I have explained in the last video. So now I'm going to teach the content or what are the objectives and what is the explanation of the next part of the chapter I'll do in this lecture. So students, as already I have explained that what is red trap. Red trap is a kind of an instrument that is specially used to trap the rats, and in the same manner I have grammatically explained the word that how it is made with a combination of two simple words, red plus trap. After that it has been made as the combined word, so that is called the coordinating word. It means that is conveying the single idea red trap. It means an instrument to catch or to trap the rats. So this is the metaphorical expression, as already I explained that how the title is metaphoric. The reason is because the rat trap is compared to the world, as we all human beings are the rat, and all the materialistic laws that are present in the world are the traps. As rat always attracted with the cheese and whatever is kept in the trap, in the same manner whatever is given in the world we always attracted for them. So objectives: to know about the philosophical aspect of human life, to understand the universal fact of materialistic world, to define the actual feature of human nature, to highlight the human predicament of temptation, to define the power of love, understanding and psychological motivation. It means these are the certain objectives of this chapter. Now these are the recapitulation, means what we have done in the last video. So we will summarize in few points only what actually we have done. So as in the beginning of the chapter it was told that how a peddler was highly interested in the philosophical idea of the world. He was extremely poor person. He was just only arranging what some kinds of the raw material from stores or mines, and he was just only framing the red traps in the odd moments of his life, and he was selling them. Whenever he was not able to survive, food his belly properly, then he had to do some petty thieveries also. Petty means short level thieveries also. So after that, one day he just selling the red traps. It was evening time and he was not able to go anywhere at his destination, so he thought that it's better to search the shelter in the near about place. So for that purpose he was searching, and he found that there was a great cottage nearby. As he asked, or as he requested to stay in the night, the owner or the host became completely happy, and even he offered a generous kind of behavior and treatment to that person. But what happens, as in the friendship manner he exposed his 30 kroner before him, and he showed him that he had earned from by selling the milk of his cow. But in the morning he was treated very badly. It means as the crofter had left his cottage, then he stole 30 kroner from him and he went out from there. But after stealing that money, he thought that what I should do, and he thought that I should follow the less traveled path where people cannot go, nobody can search him. So in that manner he followed his way through the dark dense forest, and finally he caught in that, and he was not able to come out of that, and he was not getting any way to come out of that. At that time the same idea which earlier struck into his mind about the world, that world is the whole world is a red trap. At that time he felt that yes, the complete forest, its foods, its logs, its thickets, flowers and everything is the part of what it means big world, and I'm a rat here. I have trapped in towards the forest. Reason was this because of my safety. So in that manner he has defined such kind of idea in the first video. So now we will proceed the next part of the chapter. So now I will start the explanation, that is line to line. We will explain we will discuss the difficult words, whatever the literary devices will be used in the text. So yes student, it was late in December. Darkness was already descending means upgrading, increasing over the forest. This increased the danger and increased also his gloom and despair. Gloom means melancholy, unhappiness. Despair means upset. And finally he saw no way out, and he sank down on the ground tired to death, thinking that his last moment had come. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a heard regular thumping. So in that manner, as already I have told that how the Rattrap seller caught in the forest just because of those 30 kroners which was kept in his pocket as a bait. So now it was the December time and it was quite cold outside. It was the darkness outside also, and it was the night time now because it was evening. And the darkness was increasing. Now his fear was also increasing, and finally he was not able to do anything. And he considered and accepted, and he submitted himself towards the death. He thought that now his end was near and nothing can be there that can help him. So, as fully tired as he was about to sit after accepting his death, then he heard a ray of hope, that was the thumping sound. It means the constant sound of any hammer, that was the thumping sound which was coming from any industry, any iron mill from nearby area. So, he heard that. As he heard that, then he became happy because he was not getting any way to come out of that, and he was totally caught in that forest. But as he heard the sound, then he thought that maybe he can get any help from the air. Then those are the hammers struck from an iron mill. He thought there must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength, got up and staggered. Staggered means moving tiredly and trudging in a very slow walking manner in the direction of the sound. The Ramso iron work, which are now closed down, were not so long ago a large plant with smelter, rolling mill and fosse. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges and scows slid down the canal which led to a large inland lake, and in the winter time the rods near the mill were black from all the coal dust which sifted down from the big charcoal carriers. It means author is saying that once it was a time when this iron mill, Ramso iron mill, was at the peak of its growth and development, but now it was not so, because now the work was not at the highest peak just because of any reason. And at that time he heard that some thumping sounds were coming from there, and he thought that definitely there will be some people and he will get help from them, and at least he can spend his night, because in the summer because he can get the shelter. It was the winter time, and it is defined that in that rolling mill in the winter summer time long lines would be there, and in the winter time a long layer of dust would be on the rods just because of that Ramso iron mill. So it was very popular. During one of the long dark evenings just before Christmas, the master smith and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnace waiting for the pig iron which had been put in the fire to be ready to put on the anvil. Every now and then one of them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar, returning a few moments dripping with perspiration. So yes student, during one of the long dark evenings, it means it was dark evenings, out of so many dark evenings it was one just before Christmas, because in the month of December the Christmas was about to come. The master smith, it means the blacksmith who give the shapes to the iron, and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnaces. Furnaces, it means flames of fire, those are used to heat, to giving the heat to anything, waiting for the pig iron. Pig iron, it is the quality of an iron, it is the high quality iron which had been put in the fire. It means in on the furnaces in the forge, a pig iron of the good quality was kept to smelt in that, which had been put in the fire. Then them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar. Then they took one iron stick bar and they stood up just only to stir it. Stir it means to give the movement to the blowing, and to give the movement to the just only smelting kind of iron, and to give it a glowing mass. Then he stood up and he started his work, returning in a few moments dripping with the perspiration through. Though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. The big bellows groaned and the burning coal cracked. The fire boy shoveled charcoal in the mouth of the furnace with a great deal of clatter. Outside roared the waterfall, and a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof. It means that at that time what happens, as the pig iron was blowing and the blacksmith and his helper both were doing their work. They were just only staring it, just only to see the status of its, but it means smelting. And all the time they were doing the same, and the different sounds were coming from them. The fire was shoveled charcoal into the mouth of the furnace, and the boy who was doing the work in the furnace with a great deal, and the clatter sound was coming from the ploughing iron. And outside roared the waterfall, and outside there was the sound of the waterfall. Whenever from the height the water falls down, then it always creates the sound roared. It means the good sound, it means the high sound. And a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof. So what was the environment? It was dark evening. How the environment is intensified by the author means it was winter time. After winter it was dark evening. Dark evening, it was quite chilled evening, and on that what they found, it means the air was blowing with a high speed, as well as the clatter sound of iron was coming. It means a lot of noisy environment was there, and he thought that in that environment, I think when he will open the door, then nobody will know that who has entered there. So he thought, I can take the benefit of the chance. It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood up the furnace. So students, one thing that I want to tell you that it means at that time it was quite wonderful environment. Reason is because as he entered the forge, on account of all this noise, it means, this is very important line, all this noise, he thought that probably the blacksmith did not notice that. This is the reason only that blacksmith did not notice that anybody had entered. That this is a very important question that is sometimes covered in the CBSE examination also, final examination, the annual examination. So until he stood close to the furnace, surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty panes and come into the warmth themselves in front of the fire. Author is saying that peddler was quite happy because the people, the poor wanderer, or for such kind of vagabonds, these are the favorite places, because on such kind of places nobody object to enter there, and they get the lot of heat, and in the winter season they don't have the proper clothes, they only have the rags. So in that manner they can save themselves from the cool or the chilled kind of air, so they can warm up themselves. And then without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light, and especially it happens that whenever this glow of light and the clatter sound of iron always attract the peddlers to stay there in the night, it always remains the favorite place for the peddlers. The blacksmiths glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. Intruder, a person who enters without permission, means he was seen by blacksmith as well as his helper, but they did not notice more, only they ignored him because it was the usual place for the vagabonds to stay there. He looked at the people of his tribe usually did, with a long beard, dirty ragged, and with a bunch of rattraps dangling on his chest. So yes students, sometimes the quality of the rattrap seller is asked in examination. So he looked the way people of his tribe usually did, with a long beard. With a long beard he was dirty ragged and with a bunch of rattraps dangling on his chest. So which kind of appearance of his? He was with a long beard, dirty, ragged, and with a bunch of rattraps dangling on his chest. He asked permission to stay, and the master blacksmith nodded a hearty consent. Consent means agreement. Without honoring him with a single word, the tramp did not say anything either. He had not come here to talk, but only to warm himself and sleep. So this is important line. Only two things are defined. It means the sound was coming. The peddler thought to stay there. As he entered there in the sound, then he was generally noticed only by blacksmith and his helper. They did not give the most weightage to him. They generally noticed him, and as he asked to stay there, they gave the general consent without any respect, without any kind of proper attention. So in that manner, and he was also happy because he was not making any friendship there, he was not staying for a long time, he just only wanted to warm him up, or he wanted to spend his night only. This was only his aim. In those days, the Ramsjo iron mill was owned by a very prominent iron master whose greatest ambition was to ship out good iron to the market. He watched both night and day to see that the work was done as well as possible. Means in those days, Ramsjo iron mill was owned by, it means the owner of that Ramsjo iron mill was a very famous person, that was the iron master, and that iron master had the great ambition, means desire. What was the desire? That the best quality of the iron to be supplied in the market through his or from his iron mill. It was his greatest aim. He watched both night, that's why he would take the visit, and he started his work in day as well as in night, and he usually would come for inspecting the things or the working style, how it is going on. So, and at this very moment, he came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. Naturally, the first thing he saw was the tall legged muffin who had eased his way so close to the furnace that steam rose from his wet rags. The iron master did not follow the example of the blacksmiths, who had hardly deigned to look at the stranger. He walked close up to him, looked him over very face. But of course, it is you, laugh, he said. How do you look? The man with the Rattrap had never before seen the iron master at Ramsjo and did not even know what his name was. But students, what happens on that day? As the peddler got the shelter inside the iron mill, so it was quite chilly night, he went nearby the furnaces, he laid down there, and his legs were quite wet. So as just because of the heat, then steam was coming from his wet legs. And on that day, the owner of that iron mill, that was very cautious person, he came on the inspection rounds, and as he entered in the forge, he found that one person in ragamuffin and a peddler who was never seen in the forge. So he was quite a different kind of personality, and he was nearby the furnaces. He was not perfectly visible, but he went nearby and through the features only identified that he was his person, and he cried only the one name, Neil. And how do you look? It means he was just reacting that maybe the person was of his non, among the non one. So he went nearby and he called him with the name, Neil. How do you look? It means what is an ugly appearance of yours now? The man with the red traps, because a man with the red traps never was seen by him earlier nearby the iron mill. But it occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance, he might perhaps throw him a couple of kroner. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him all at once. Yes, God knows things have gone downhill with me. See, yes, students, this is very important line. But it occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance, because the iron master thought that he was acquaintance means known. So he thought that the person was among his old acquaintance. It means known one. The person is among his known one. He might perhaps throw him a couple of kroner. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him all at once. He did not want to undeceive him. So, therefore, he did not want to undeceive him all at once. Yes, God knows things have gone downhill with him. He said, you should not have resigned from the regiment. So, at that time, when Iron Master entered in the iron mill, and he glanced on that person, then he thought that the person is his all acquaintance, is all regiment mate, is all friend. So he considered him, but it was not so. Later in the story we will come to know about that also. It was not so, but he considered that the person is his friend. Then he became very kind towards him, and he was repenting over his situation, how the God has done, what the God has done with you, how the things went downhill to you, what a bad luck of yours, what is your situation now. So in that manner he became highly emotional. And he also suggested that maybe your luck has just only ruined just because of your problems or your mistakes, because if you had not resigned from the army or regiment, then definitely your luck could be better. That was a mistake, I think. It was declared by Iron Master before that person. If only I had still been in the service at the time, it never would have happened. Well, now of course you will come home with me. Then he told that if I would be along with you, it means if I would be serving long with you in the restaurant, then definitely I would not allow to take such kind of decision to you. But now the things have happened, so what is the need to repent on them? So now you should definitely go with me at my home. You will get some relaxation and you will get the comfort there. To go along up to the manor house and be received by the honor like an all. It means now you will be a guest of ours. You will get a lot of welcome there. You will feel comfortable. So you should follow me and you should come at my home and be received by the honor like an old regiment comrade. That however did not please the tramp. No, I could not think of it, he said, looking quite alarmed. He thought of the 30 kroner. To go up to the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. So this is also very important line. To go into the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily into lion's den. It means in the to throw in the difficulty in lion's den. So now as the iron master put the proposal and offered the proposal and requested him to visit at his home, and he will give the warm welcome at his home just like a old comrade of the army, regimental army's comrade. So now he will welcome him a lot and he will be happy even if he will visit at his home. But the peddler denied for that, and he was not happy because he was thinking about those 30 kroner. Those were stolen by him and were kept by him in his pocket. Just because of those 30 kroner, he had already caught in that situation. That's why he was only staying in that iron mill. So he thought that if he will go at his home, then definitely police would be searching him and finally he will be arrested. Then it would not be good. So it means to go at his home, it's just like a very foolish act, because it is just like a stupid work to throw in the lion's den voluntarily. It means desirely we are throwing ourselves somewhere. This will be the such kind of act. He only wanted a chance to slip here in the forge and then sneak away as inconspicuously as possible. Then he thought that if once the person will go somewhere, then definitely he will seek the chance and he will leave the forge and then sneak away. It means silently he will go away as inconspicuously without any information as possible. It means as early as possible he will leave the place once only this person should go. And in that manner he was ready to leave. The iron master assumed that he felt embarrassed because of his miserable clothing. Please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there. He said, Elizabeth is dead. And as if this only observed the reaction of peddler that he is not ready to go at his home, then iron master made a request and he gave his clarification that no need to feel any hesitation to go at my home, because at my home there are not a lot of members. My sons are living in abroad, only my daughter is living with me and his wife Elizabeth is not so more, so not so member are at this home. And he also gave one wonderful offer to him that to go at his home. He said, Elizabeth, as you know, may already have heard, my boys are abroad and there is no one at my home except my oldest daughter and myself. We were just saying that it was too bad we did not have any company for Christmas. Now come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster. But the stranger said no and no and said again no. And the iron master saw that he must give in. And what happens then? He offered that he gave one more. He did one more request that this time on the Christmas there is no any guest with whom they can celebrate the Christmas festival. So he said that our carnival must be the wonderful with the company of you. So it's my humble request to stay at my home and enjoy the Christmas. But after even such proposal and request, the peddler said no and no again and again no. Because as we know the reason why did he say no. It looks as though Captain Von Stale preferred to stay with you tonight and distant storm, he said to the master blacksmith and turned on his heel. Now, on this reaction, Iron Master thought that it's better I should not force him, I should not insist a lot, and he just in a jolly manner commented that, oh, my friend, it means my all regimental comrade want to live with my blacksmith, will want to live to master blacksmith, and he turned on his heel, and he turned on his heel, and he took his hail, it means what, his wagon, and he went away from there. But he laughed to himself as he went away, and the blacksmith who knew him understood very well that he had not said his last word. It means that this is very important line. But he laughed to himself as he went away. It means as the iron master left the iron mill, then he went away, then he himself. It means the peddler laughed on himself, and the blacksmith who knew him, and the blacksmith also laughed, because blacksmith knew that he was not his old acquaintance, he was only mere a poor vagabond, understood very well that he had not said his last word, that, and he also understood that the iron master had not declared his last word. It means again iron master will visit in the iron mill to make the request for his visit. It was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge. Only just after 30 minutes. So what happens, students? Actually, Iron Mail first made the request to the peddler just only to visit at his home, because he was expressing a lot of generosity for his friend. But after a long insistence, when the peddler denied, then he thought that it's better I should not say anything, and in a very jolly manner he commented that he wants to live with the blacksmith, and he left the iron mill. But just after 30 minutes, who comes? His daughter comes, because Iron Master was well aware that his daughter, his oldest daughter Adla Williamson, had the high convincing power, and she could convince anybody else. So he requested Adla to visit in Iron Mill and to invite his friend at his home for the Christmas festival, and at least he could get some soothing and calm environment there. So for that, Adla comes there after 30 minutes. It was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge. Somebody came there, and new guest came in, but this time it was not the iron master. A new guest entered in the iron mill, but this was not the iron master, the owner of iron mill. He had sent his daughter, apparently hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion, means convincing. So than he himself. It means he knew that his daughter had the better persuasion power than himself. She entered, followed by a valet carrying, hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion than himself. She entered, followed by a valet carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest and quite shy. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice still sat on their bench, and iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace. So he had sent his daughter, and as we know, his daughter was sent by him only. She entered, followed by a valet. Valet means servant. So along with her, a servant came, and carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was carrying a big fur coat, soft fur coat, and she was not at all pretty. She was not so pretty by looking, but seemed modest and quite shy. But she had some good qualities in her personality. She was modest, and she had some shy kind of nature. And in the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening, and everything was the same in the forge. The master blacksmith and his apprentice still sat on their bench, and they were master blacksmith and his apprentice, those who were working in the iron mill, they were sitting properly on their benches, and the iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace, and iron and charcoal, everything was glowing in the melted in the furnaces. It means in the iron mill everything was the same. The iron master only had gone. Then what? It means the peddler was sleeping nearby the furnaces, and everything was going on. It means iron blacksmith and his apprentice all were working, and every situation was the same as iron master left there. The man was evidently used to sleeping with one eye open. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. "My name is Adela Wilmanson," said the young girl. "My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forest tonight, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you were having such a hard time." She looked at him. As Adela came there, and she found that the situation or the condition of that poor vagabond was really very poor, so she also expressed a lot of grief that, "Oh, what happened with you, and really I can understand your pain." And compassionately with her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid either he had stolen something or else he had escaped from jail. She thought and added quickly, "You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came." And friendly manner that the Rattrap peddler must have felt confidence in her. "It would never have occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss," he said. "I will come at once." Now this is very important. As Adela Wilmanson came there, and she found that the person was really a fully tired person. He was poor vagabond, and she had noticed each and everything. Even she identified the truth in him, and with a heavy eyes she glanced at him. But she thought and added quickly, "What? You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came." This is very important line, because just because of that confidence, only, the peddler became very happy and he was ready to go with peddler. How? Because Adela identified the things and she convinced him that you are total liberal and you can come with me, you can enjoy there, and as liberally you will go at my home, in the same liberal manner whenever you want you can come from there. So at this proposal he was quite ready to go with Adela and he went with him. And one more very comical thing is given, that the peddler had the habit of one eye open, and as Adela went there it was appeared that as he was winking. But Adela was quite modest, he did not bother for that, and he put his request before him in that manner that he easily became ready to come with her. He accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his rags. It means the valet who was carrying his fur coat, it was taken by her and it was just only worn by her and covered his threw it over his rags and followed the young lady out to the carriage without granting the astonished blacksmith so much as a glance. But while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. "While the devil did I take that fellow's money," he thought. "Now I'm sitting in the trap and will never get out of it." The next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room, the break of what happens? He accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his legs. It means the valet who was with Adela and who was carrying the fur coat, it was offered to him because it was the quiet chill night, so he accepted also. But after taking that and he was sitting in the carriage, then he was thinking that, oh, he had committed a greatest mistake. He had caught in that trap and he doesn't know that how he will come out of that. So it was the quite we can say the repentance that was going on in his mind. "Why the devil did I take that fellow's money?" This is the very important line. Why the devil did I take that fellow's money? Why I had taken the money of that person? Why had I committed that mistake? He thought again and again. Now I'm sitting in that trap and will never get out of it. It was quite clear in his mind that he had committed the mistake and he will never be able to come out of that. The next day, but as he reached at his home, the next day there was Christmas Eve. And when the iron master came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. And he was waiting to meet his old comrade because he was very happy to find such a fellow at his home. And first of all, we must see it to that he gets a little flash on his bones, he said to his daughter who was busy at the table, and then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling rat traps. He was saying to his daughter that it was really the bad time that was going on with him. It means that definitely it was very bad time with him, that things were going very down to him with him. So in that manner he said that definitely it was very bad, and he was waiting that on the next day that he could he could get some new things, it means that he could get the satisfaction with us. So next, the difficult words meaning. Then kroner, a unit of money in Sweden. Someone gathered and carried big containers, shifted separate. It means that in this lecture we have explained the visit of peddler to the iron mill, and in the iron mill he felt comfortable, and the idea just came into his mind that he had caught totally in the rat trap, and he was repenting over his act, and he was thinking even that he could not come out of that. And his visit to the iron mill, and how he was treated by the blacksmith and his apprentice, then how iron master enters, and what was the iron master's idea about him, how iron master greeted him as an old acquaintance, and then Adla Wilmanson came there and persuaded him to visit at his home, and finally Peddler reached at the house of Iron Master. So what will happen with him next in the next video we will see. So thank you and have a nice day.